back with another Friday with Friends. And today we have, I often say we got special guests, but, and I don't want to overuse that term, but today we do have a special guest, Matt Hampton of Headshop.com. We have done some events together in the past. I think you've met my family, but I've definitely met your family. And this is a good man. He's a really gentleman in ways that I think have passed most of us, like a gentleman from the past. So Matt, that's my build up. But tell us a little bit about yourself. Introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your story, and what led you to founding Headshop.com.
Well, thanks. I don't know what I did to deserve that wonderful intro, but thank you, sir. I appreciate it. Yeah.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, in a nutshell, it comes down to I had an opportunity to buy the domain through a friend of a friend kind of thing, and you know what? It was never really an option for me. You do what you love, right? And I love head shops. I mean, back in the day, do you remember going into head shops like when people left their house, before COVID? You walk into a head shop and it's like instantly visceral, right? Like you've got, it's almost like a tapestry of like sensation, whether it's visual or olfactory or sensory. Like it is all over you, everywhere. You smell the incense and knock chamba, it like penetrates your skin, and like the velvety texture of a blacklight poster and like the smoothness of a bong. Like it's everywhere. Like you can't do anything. You can't avoid it, right?
And it's like these places have like the same salesperson. It doesn't matter where you go.
100%.
They all came out of the same academy.
Oh yeah, totally. Right. Do you not notice that with bud tenders now? Do you not feel the same way? Yeah, it's like they all went to the same school. Yeah.
Like, are you related to this?
Yeah, are you related? Yeah. Have we done this before? Yeah. So yeah, man, it was just one of those things where it started out like we didn't really know what we were going to do with it. To be honest, it was just like, yeah, I love Cannabis Accessories. Like the head shop thing is amazing. And that's kind of how it started. And then it very, very quickly, and when I say very quickly, I mean like almost instantaneously became more about who are you talking to and why you want to talk to them. I mean, hell, anybody can go down to your local head shop and buy a glass piece, an Indian or Chinese made shitty production,
right?
Piece. Is swearing okay on this? I'm sorry, I didn't even ask. Yeah, okay.
I don't think any kids watch this.
Yeah. I hope not. If so, we should be talking to their parents. Have a different conversation with them.
That's right.
So we just didn't know who we were talking to or why we were talking to them. So it led us on a journey that we still are on right now. But it's not about weed. It's not about weed toys. Those are the outward expression of what we're talking about. But like what we're really talking about is the connection between us and them, right? We sort of jokingly say we connect cool people to cool products. That is kind of what we are into. But it's mostly meeting the cool people part that drives the second part of that, which is introducing cool products, right? Yeah. I mean, yes, there's a commercial outlet there for us, and that's how we generate revenue, obviously. But like really the passion is about finding these cool products that are unique. And I know we're going to get into all this today, but like the product submission or selection process for us and things that we kind of get passionate behind, there's a method to that madness. And that method is really what I was talking about, right? Like that connection with just cool vibes.
Like that. It's funny that you sort of say that because, back in the day, so what you do is somewhat like old meets new in a way, because what you're doing is you're taking this old concept and you're sort of bringing it online. And traditionally, a head shop was where like, college kids, young adults, people who maybe were our age, but more like the counterculture types, like these were the people that have frequented, the local head shop. Is that still the case today? Is this what you're seeing online, or are you seeing like what various types of people are coming and shopping on the site?
So, we actually have quite a different demographic now than you would think. and actually one of the conscious decisions we made really, really early on before we even launched the very first website was that we weren't going to be selling the Cheech and Chong vibe, right? This isn't a windowless van where two stoners stumble out with the cloud of smoke coming and like we started in 2002, and that was back in the days where the internet was still flashing gifts. And, I'm sure you remember back in the day, the mailbox that kind of spun around and
Forgot about that.
Yeah, right. And like, so we weren't about that, like no rotating or blinking pot leaves, no scantily clad women in a bikini taking bong hits off a 4-foot glass piece. Like that just was never who we wanted to talk to. And it wasn't because we didn't like those people. We have some of them as customers, but the reality is like we weren't into glorifying or glamorizing the act of smoking cannabis. It was really, if you're in this journey because you love it, then we want to talk to you. If you're just, they're like, hey bro, how high could I get? Like, that's not really that's not us. That's not who we relate to. Again, they're not bad. It's not that they're bad people. It's just that we're not really into that.
That's not the target audience.
That's not the marketing angle that we chose to.
Yeah, it's funny though. It's kind of crazy that you look around and somehow these things that you've been seeing since the early 80s, like they still kind of work. Like these
yeah, I mean they do. I mean look at Instagram and tell me how many like cannabis Instagram feeds have some hot woman, youthful woman, insert race here, depending on what channel you're talking about. And she's got big fake breasts and she's on a bed, velvet covers, and she's holding this giant glass piece. And there's this thick, voluminous, like cloud coming out of her mouth. And you're like, yeah, I've seen this shot 10 million times.
10 million times. She just comes out of the daggone salon. She's looking,
yeah. I mean, it's so predictable. It's ridiculous. But to your point, obviously it works if every single Instagram person that we're talking about still does it.
It's funny because it's a marketer, like your we sell hemp, you sell, hardware of all kinds, and it's kind of like this mystery of what is the next evolution of this marketing, because it seems like we're sort of stuck on this planet, whereas you got to be sort of, stoner, wearing all kind of crazy, Rastafarian type colors, and all your packaging got to be like childlike. And I think there's got to be more to this industry. And I have to believe that those things turn off the larger audience.
It does. And I think that to your earlier question, how it dovetails into here is that the demographic has moved from rotating cannabis leaf and scantily clad woman to, I want a very slick packaging. I want to know how it's made. I want to know where it's made. I want to know the materials being used. I want to know, and that's just at like a basic level. If you take it another level deeper, you've got a whole constituent that only wants to know, like, can I express terpenes at this specific temperature range, and which, and taking like a real deep dive into that. And you're like, well, that's a question I never would have asked 15 years ago. I didn't even know what the hell a terpene was 15 years ago. I mean, so, the evolution is basically, it's a maturing process, I guess is the best way of putting it. It's, look, I'm in my mid 40s and obviously I have an irrevocable bias towards a guy in his mid 40s, right? Like that's just my worldview now. But as part of my job, we have to kind of like look and see what a 25-year-old version of me or you or somebody else would do. And even we're seeing that even down to that, which is 20 years off of me, those people even are looking at really peeling back the onion and saying, like, what is this product about? Is it actually better than some other piece of shit that I saw last week, which everybody's knocking off? And look, we just went to the biggest trade show in the industry in Vegas a couple of weeks ago. And look, there's a couple new stuff by next week it'll be knocked off 10 ways from Sunday in China, and they'll be selling a shit version of it. And
no doubt,
some gas station Headshop is going to be selling that instead of the fancy version that I saw at the show. And, again, we're also not competing on a price level where we're trying to sell the cheapest vape pen or the cheapest dab rig or the cheapest bong or the cheap, we're interested in quality over quantity. And yeah, we have a lot of SKUs on the site, but we try to really kind of push forward the ones that we know have like superior build qualities, truly unique ideas. And how that translates in the cannabis accessory market is better delivery. And how do you qualify that? Is it a truer taste profile? Is it a cleaner inhale? Is it, there's a vhole raging argument about, incendiary devices versus non-incendiary devices. Like, am I going to burn it? Am I going to, vaporize it? And then in the vaporizing thing, am I vaporizing wax, shatter, oil, like, flour, like what, and there's an entire, we could talk 16 show episodes on all the differences.
I'm telling you, man, this is the revolution I think that is coming. It's just not that it's not here, but I think that the general public has not realized how versatile vaping and dabbing can be, because you get everything you need from flower, but like the flavor, you don't lose anything. And when I say lose, like with flower, it deteriorates over time. The longer it sits in your drawer, like in a sense, the worse that it gets, just like fruit,
Right.
But you've like encapsulated like the flavor, all the cannabinoid profile, the color. It's just, I don't know. I just think that once people start understanding some of the things that you have to offer, I think that's when the revolution really starts.
Right. Well, you're not wrong. I mean, I think a lot of people are still stuck in this sort of in between mental purgatory about cannabis, right? Like, you look at my parents who are, 20 years my senior, when they were even my age, shit was illegal, dude. Like, I mean, there's no two ways about it. You get caught with an ounce of weed, you're going to jail, dude. Like, and that wasn't up for discussion. Right. And so I definitely don't think that it's possible or even reasonable to ask my parents to view cannabis in even remotely the same ways as I do. Right. And similarly, and on the other side of the coin, you've got people who just got out of college who are kind of, they got a couple shillings in their pocket. They want to kind of put out for a new piece. And they're like, hey man, I got this. And they are completely unaware of what it was like to buy these products in a prohibition state, or not know how to take their card down to the local dispensary, or even better yet, in an adult use state. The concept that it was illegal you couldn't even explain it to a 21-year-old.
Oh man, where to go find an alley, at another right person.
Oh man,
there's all these things and like these layers. You only had two products really. You had like hash, which is dark and ugly, and you had flower. Like, and there's so many options right now. It's like crazy the world that they live in.
Well, I mean, it goes deeper than that too. I mean, I don't know if I was in Manhattan for majority of my 20s and half of my 30s. And the way that went was you called a beeper number or a cell phone number at a certain point, and some dude in a 3-piece suit and a briefcase showed up at your apartment, and you opened it up and it was like, I've got OG Kush, I've got this, and you're like, you're like, I don't know what the words coming out of your mouth are, but I just want weed. Sandman and this, like, what the fuck are you saying, man? Like, and he's like, or do you want meth or cocaine? You're like, no, I'm good on that. We're going to stick to this side of the briefcase. I only need that. And that was how it went. And then the next time time you called him, he's like, oh, I got OG Kush or whatever. And you're like, oh, I like that stuff the last time. And you get it. And 5 minutes later, you're like rocking like a baby in the corner because you're like out of your mind. You're like, this was definitely not the same thing, because they were just making this shit up. There was no quality control with your So
Not were, they still are.
and so when I go down to a dispensary now and I say I want OG Kush, well, that shit is OG Kush. Like it's not kind of sort of OG Kush. It's not like it's not OG adjacent. It is absolutely 100% OG Kush. I can tell you what the terpene profile is. And granted, we don't need to get it. Some nerd out there is going to fact check you on this one. But so I'm not saying that it's exactly the same. The natural plant fluctuations might make it slightly stronger, slightly more pining this day or that day, but more or less, you know that if you're a Chem de la Chem person and you go to get a joint, a pre-roll of Chem de la Chem, you know what to expect. You know how many hits you got to take to make your straight. You know what delivery mechanism you want to enjoy that with. Like, a lot of information. You're armed with so much more information going into it than has ever been possible.
That's the truth. That is the truth.
And that's the part that I get super excited about, because when you can do, with me, I've got dozens of strains in my safe at any given time. And they're all for wildly different things. I've got one and I got to get rid of it, but I got this Oro Blanco. I don't know if you ever had this stuff, but man, it's like a creative superpower. Doesn't make you drowsy, but for me personally, and a lot of this, as you know, is an N of one kind of experiment you got to always run, because how Oro Blanco hits me might hit you totally different.
Right. No doubt.
But I mean, I only use Oro Blanco when I have to solve a creative problem. That's it. I literally keep a gram of it around just literally for that exact reason. Chem de la Chem, I would only take if I was needed to go to bed. It kind of it takes me down a few notches. I'm not going to use that to go run a marathon. That's not, I'm not going to use that to solve any problems, because it makes me want to sit on the couch and do nothing.
Right.
But if I want that experience, then I know exactly where to go. I don't have to guess, it's.
And that is really the sort of hill that we're getting over right now.
Oh yeah.
Like, people aren't just buying or consuming just to consume anymore. Like, people are consuming for a reason. They're trying to target a specific ailment, a specific need. I'm a little uncomfortable in my lower back at night. In the evening, I need to take something that's going to give me a little bit more sedation, relaxation, loosen these muscles up. And this is the science of it. And this is where we're and how we're talking about where terpenes and these minor cannabinoids are really starting to take hold and really make their mark in this industry. People are like learning that, hey, just because I smoke this doesn't mean the same thing's going to happen when I smoke this or vape this or dab this or what have you.
Sure.
All these other things or these components are there, these compounds are in there that are totally different from this plant to this plant, and what I want is here. And I think that's a beautiful thing.
I'm with you 100%. And I guess, you are, I know are, in the CBD space. And, for me, I love vaping CBD flower, because it's like taking an Advil, right? Like, if you're a little, I traveled to Vegas for that show, got off a 6-hour flight, went right to the trade show. Was a little feeling like, I just got off a plane for 6 hours, met a guy over there who had one of the products we sell on our site called Genius Pipe, which is a great product, but I hadn't used it ever. And we sell a lot of them. And it was just one of those products I hadn't got a chance to try yet. So he gave me one and he goes, all I've got is CBD flower. And I was like, oh no, that's great. I love it. And damn, like 40 minutes later, I was like, just in the right spot. And I'm like, look, I'm not high. But I'm like, totally relaxed. Like, all those kinks from the airplane are gone. And again, like, that is not something that we didn't have that option.
No.
A few years ago. You know what I'm saying? Like, so.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because like, we as a company, like, we're venturing to more into vapor and dabble extracts. And I think that more people will be open to them. Hemp in particular, if they knew how to use them. Do you mind showing us some of your products? And
oh yeah, no, not at all.
Or if you have some for dabbing in particular, but whatever you got today, just show us like what you're offering on this, and give us a little sample of what you may be offering on the site.
So So a lot. So I'm a vaporizer guy, right? I know you're a dab guy, but what I do like about where you and I intersect is that all of my toys also are for concentrates as well, right? Like, so you can
Okay,
dab them just the
it's even
same.
better.
And the way that ends up working is if I take one of my favorite products right here, which is the Mighty, or the Crafty. Sorry, I have the Mighty here as well. So, um, and actually, it might be a good time to just show you the two of them. These are essentially the same or very similar products, right? They're made by Stores and Bickle. This is called the Mighty, and this is called the Crafty. And the big difference is the Mighty has an onboard temperature regulation and battery display, whereas the Crafty, you use an iPhone or an Android app and you can do the same thing, which some people really like. I doesn't what I like about this is portability. Actually, this thing is really nice, and I know you like this product as well. So, like, and if you're a flower junkie, this thing is absolutely
Actually, yes.
yeah. So, but what I do like about it a lot is if you take off the top, and right now there's flour in here, but there's a little steel pad that's that shape, and you can put liquid concentrates, you can put shatter on there, you can put cake batter, any concentrate really, and put it in there, and it vaporizes it the same way that you would vaporize flour. It's non-incendiary, so meaning it doesn't burn. And truthfully, I think one of the things I don't particularly love about dabbing is that there's a lot of flame involved, and I just am not a huge burnt guy, right? Like, I don't like to, not a huge fan of smoking a joint. I'm not a huge fan of lighting bowls. Like, bong hits don't interest me very much. And it's like, it's that burnt flavor. I feel like it's like, the best way I could equate it was look, I'm a product of New York City, technology guy. We drank coffee with like 9 sugars and like a gallon of milk in it. Right. And I did that every day, 3 times a day, until I went on my honeymoon to Costa Rica. And the waitress legitimately told me, no, she would not bring me sugar or milk. She's like, you will drink this black, and if you don't like it, I'll bring it for you, but you're in Costa Rica, you should try this. And that was 20 years ago this year. And I have not gone back because I realized I like the flavor of coffee, and I specifically like the flavor of good coffee, which is completely not possible when you're shitting it up with milk and sugar, and while you certainly can get some flavor profile from burning cannabis, it is impossible, in my opinion, to really experience the nuance,
no doubt,
of one strain to the other. And where it gets really interesting is when you take phenotypes of basically the same thing. Like there's a company here in Baltimore that sells a Dark Star Tangy Chemdog mix, which is the most fascinating mix ever, because it's like, how do you go left, right, and straight at the same time? Like,
wow, right.
But here's the thing, like, Chemdog is an intense indica, right? And Chem de la Chem is also a cross of chem, and I forget, I can't remember. I can never remember what they crossed that with, but it's not, it's the same family, but it's got a little bit of a different personality. And you can only taste that difference is if you're using a delicate machine like a vaporizer. You cannot get that if you lit a joint on both those. You're never going to taste that difference.
Yeah, terpenes burn off.
Yeah. Well, it's not just the terpenes, but yes, you're absolutely right about that. And especially if you're a medical patient, right? Terpene expression and what temperatures those express at should be at the top of your concern list, because if somebody tells you that you need, a myrcene dominant, flower, burning it is not going to give you the maximum amount of myrcene. Like, and I don't know, I have a chart, we have charts all over the place. So I always have to cross-reference this. I can't remember what temperature myrcene expresses at, but like, if that's what I'm doing, then I should be looking for a product that's going to give me that output, right? Like I should be looking for, if it's 390 degrees and I need something like the Mighty or the Crafty that I can literally say, give me 390 degrees, because that's what I'm looking for, right? Like I'm not looking for, and like, it's funny, there's all these charts, like bubble charts and stuff that'll say these express at like 2 to 300, and these are 3 to 400, and these are 4 to 410, these are 410 to 430. And like, you know, so there is all kinds of information out there if you're just curious enough to go look for it, right? So like that brings me to this guy, right, which you and I both know about too. Here you've got underneath, it's a vaporizer at the bottom, and so like the again, it's packed, but the you pack it at the bottom, and it's got this little like S hook almost. And what's neat about that is when you go in here and I close it up and you're hitting on it, you could actually turn the bottom, and that S hook will agitate the material inside.
I never knew that.
Oh yeah, no, it's great. You have one of these too, don't you?
Larry does. I don't have.
Yeah. But it's neat because that gives you sort of that fresh sort of hit. And the reason that's important with any vaporizer actually is that it's an induction oven basically, right? And you've got a metal tube or an area that gets hot,
right?
And then you breathe that superheated material through the negative space of the material, right? Like it's pushing hot air through there. And in this case, you take it off, and it's actually also pulling that through a water mechanism that you would see in a bong. So people who want, and this also has a carb on the side, so it's something that people would recognize. This actually is really one of my favorite products. I mean, it's really fun, and you've got like 5 different temperature modes for this thing. But one thing that is fun about this, and I think my battery on this is dead, so you might not be able to see this. No, maybe there's a little left. No. So there's this thing called party mode, which basically means you don't have to touch it or anything. It just goes in, and for 2 minutes, this just goes, which is great in a pre-COVID world, because now we go like this and I can pass it around, and it's on autopilot. It's just going. And it's a little hard with my lights on here, but you can see that it's going through like different colors. Let's see if
no doubt.
So now it's going to go into a different color, and now it's going to go to teal, and it's like super fun to watch. Like, and it's a great conversation piece, right? So
yeah, it's like a lava lamp at the same time.
So it does have a party mode as well. And then like you go all the way up to the crazy version, which is, you ever seen this, the sharper image little ball?
Yes.
So it's basically this, right? Like, so I can now do this, and this is literally just a dab rig and or a flower bowl. Like that's it. And you fill this tube with water if you want. It can pull through it, and just straight,
Where's the heating element? You have to light it or no?
So this is a light. Yeah, this is not a vaporizer. So this is actually
okay.
And the reason I pulled this out for you is because, like, from the standpoint of like unique products, this is, as if you took this part out, right? This is just a regular old bong, right? There's nothing, unique about it other than the fact that it's got this super fucking cool base that just does this neat. And they've got a hookah.
Owners love this kind of stuff.
Oh, and you know what? Like at night, actually, you know what? I can do this. Look at this.
Look at that. Now it's
it's just super fun.
That is super cool.
Like, and I can kind of do this.
Play with it.
I just want to play with it.
I don't even want to use it. Just want to touch it.
And so you've got so many things, and like even if you look, I don't know if I have one right.
This is super cool.
I might, if I do. It's
like, I'm not even really asking you questions. I'm just like letting you go.
Yeah.
This is awesome.
You know what? I don't have it with me, but if you, the PAX was like sort of the original, sort of high end, and listen, if I'm being completely honest, the PAX is a great product. Like, And they're a good example of a company that really learned lessons, because the PAX One had a big flaw. It's a bummer I don't have it with me. I usually have it here for demos exactly. What's a real bummer about it is, oh, I do. I see. I was right. Yeah. So PAX, you slide off this bottom, and there's this like chamber here. Okay. Mm-hmm. The problem with that is, if you notice here, there's like a nipple on the bottom of this that kind of pushes it down. The original PAX was just this top part. And if you didn't have compression on the material in the oven, it didn't actually touch enough to actually vaporize. And so
air gap almost.
Yeah, it was like a weird air gap thing. And like you ended up doing this a lot, and you're like, kind of, fucking with it. And it just wasn't great. So what they did is they actually, so the fix to that was put more material in, right? Like, so you can really like load that thing up with material, and that is okay. But nobody really wants to do that because, look, we're all cheap, man. You don't want to waste your weed, right? I mean,
right. Right.
Like, so what PAX did was they came out with this thing that has a little nipple on it. And what's neat about that is it pushes it down so you could use less material. It can push it in, and it actually removes the air gap problem.
Awesome.
And what they also did on that same one, and this is the PAX 3, and that sort of evolved up, but they have this, which is actually a concentrate rig. So you put your concentrate in this little tiny space in here. It's magnetized as well, and it's got a little tiny, very delicate seal on it that kind of comes off, so you can kind of, you can clean it easy. But this will replace it in here, and now it's a concentrate rig, just like that, with just swapping.
Wow.
So to what you were talking about earlier, this is so much more versatile than it used to be that it's almost like hard to imagine that we ever did it a different way.
And light and compact.
Yeah, I mean, this almost fits in a Zippo pocket, not height wise, but
right.
But like you can pinch it in like that deep into a Zippo pocket if you just needed to kind of store it for a second. But this fits in anything. Awesome. I mean, women put this in their bras right here. Men have it in their front pocket. You can't really see it. So it is pretty discreet. When these people are making these products, they're thinking about so many different use cases, but yeah, that's kind of that's and the dab things, man. I mean, God, that thing goes. I just saw a great product that we're going to have on the site soon, but it's like an all-in-one dab rig, but it's a silicone container. And on the front, you can pull it. It's got a holder to pull out the torch. You flip the silicone over. It's the base on the glass dab rig that's water filled on the inside. And in the other side of it is a whole dab tool holder that pinch into the silicone. And so basically you've got this self-contained party that's got everything you need, and you just bring it with you. And it's not huge, but it's got all the fixings to do a dab.
Perfect for like the beach travel.
Perfect for the beach, perfect for travel. And what's great about it is it's got storage for concentrates right in there. I mean, you literally, and the whole thing fits into like, I don't know, what is that, 6 inches by maybe 3 or 4 inches by about 3 or 4 inches. So it's not that big. You're not putting it in your pocket, but there's not a dab rig in the world you're putting in your pocket.
Awesome. So the way you just showed us.
I mean, but those aren't really dab rigs per se. Like they're dab adjacent.
It's funny because now it's almost like a vaporizer of any kind, especially if it can, accommodate both. It's almost like synonymous now. We're like, it's a dab rig now. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And like the thing about that, I mean, like I'm not a huge fan of the pens, like the vape pens, for example. And I think that this is the other thing that, we didn't talk about here, but I think is definitely one of the sort of more frustrating things about the industry right now is like the word vape has become sort of a bad word. It's a 4-letter word, literally. Right. And it's kind of unfair because like vaping in the tobacco sense is still just as shitty as the marketing was for cigarettes, right? Like it's still a bunch of bullshit lies. That's just a new output, right? Like
in a sense, it is healthier in a sense. Yeah.
in
I mean,
in
same
in
reason
a
you don't
in a
come.
very loosely interpreted sense.
Well, no, for the same reason you don't combust. Like, there's probably less damage on your lungs by doing working with the vaporizer than say working with the bomb.
Yeah, but if you look at all the peg and like it's getting a little better, but like a lot of those like cheaper brands, like they'll still use polyethylene glycol and all these shitty like things like that are in like I forget what was it. We did a whole thing on this on the site a while back. Yeah, right. All those like acronyms, like the alphabet soup of carcinogens that they put into these things is ridiculous. And when you start to peel,
solvent free, they'll put something like that on there. What's the point?
Yeah, right. And then like when you look at that, you're like, well, this ingredient's in embalming fluid, and they use this one to do stage smoke, and then when you realize what they put this in there for is just to make some teenager look cooler with a bigger plume. Like I'm like, okay, so basically you could make this healthier, is what you're saying. Yes. If you had no visual exhale and it was just like pure tobacco and you were atomizing and inhaling pure tobacco, there would be no visible breath out, or very, very little. But because we add all this stupid shit to make it look bigger, now it's super bad for us. Now we haven't been with this technology long enough to know how bad or good or, benign it is. But look, history is a good predictor of the future, or can be a good predictor of the future. And it's run by an industry that has made billions of dollars lying to people. And so I'm not the guy who thinks that's probably the best thing, but that is what everything is. Vaping flower out of the mighty is not the same as vaping tobacco out of a gas station tobacco vape.
You're absolutely right. You're right.
Like these are not the same things. They have the same vernacular, but they're not at all the same. And you get people like to pick on my parents once more, like they don't know the difference, like school administrators in colleges and high schools, they don't know the difference. They think they see some kid pluming some tobacco, these giant things that they see, and they're like, and it's like, a foot. Like the school administrators, I've talked to some teachers, they're like, I caught some kid vaping marijuana. I'm like, did you, or did you catch him vaping something else? Like, they're like, I don't know, it was this giant cloud of smoke. I'm like 10 to 1 that was a tobacco. I don't know, obviously.
Yes.
Yeah. Like, so I don't know.
The big cloud of smoke is been associated with all cannabis products. It's like they don't even associate a big cloud of smoke with tobacco. It's always cannabis.
And the big cloud of smoke only comes from tobacco. Like, that's what I'm saying, man. Like there's no cannabis producer. I mean, I know all the producers in the state of Maryland, and not a one of them puts shit in their products that makes the plume look bigger. It's no fucking need. Like you don't have to do that. Like it doesn't.
It's not about the plume. That's for sure.
Right. So like as a result, everything in Maryland is like got basically cannabis extract, and that's it. Like it's just, that there's no need for more.
Well, we're gonna wrap this up today. I know we've been talking for a while. We could probably do like 2 or 3 of these because there's like so many topics that we talked about today that we could expand on. But I want to get, a lot of this is about just giving shine on you guys. And I want to, we always end this with a shameless plug, and that's on you, not on me. So where you get to talk about, anything exciting that's going on with your company, any new products, you want promo codes, but use this as an opportunity to promote your business. And you got 1 minute, man. You're on the clock.
Yeah, well, thanks again. I appreciate you having me. Basically, 2022 is going to be an interesting year for us. We're actually expanding into the biohacking market. So nutraceuticals and a lot of sort of health-driven wearables and consumables are coming online. And it all goes to service that same user we were talking about earlier. It's the educated, interested in their own outcome type of person. And that is definitely what we're doing. We'll give, we can give you guys a 15% off coupon to your listeners. I have to make it up, but what do we want to call it? Cherry 15 or something like that. Like
Cherry 15.
Cherry 15. I'm going to make a note right now.
Cherry 15 listeners, go on headshop.com, enter Cherry 15, get 15% off.
Yeah. And we are, we're always interested in your feedback, and a lot of our coolest products have come from user submissions. So if you do have a product of your own, or you know one that we don't have on the site and you just are super passionate about it, just hit us up. Customer service at Headshop. It's all over the website. But yeah, hit us up. We'd love to check it out. And, we have so many cool products, like the Flux that I showed you here is one of them. They've got a whole line that we've got on there now. There's another product we have called the Trident, which is literally a laser bong. It lights your cannabis with a laser beam, like cool as shit. Yeah, like, I mean, it's fun. So yeah, definitely check out the site. We've got so much to go into. We've got 7,000 SKUs right now on the site, so it'd be very hard to go through all of them here. But
we should take about 10. And me and Larry, we'll go and we'll find some we're in DC, so you can find products here. We'll find some products. You bring your stuff down, and maybe we'll just do like a
little session testing. Yeah. No, I'd love to.
Even on camera, we can show how people use these products. We can do it with him, so we're not all stoned out. But show them how these products can really be used. Like we'll give it some time. Or we didn't have the time today, but we can do that.
No, listen, that is absolutely 100% something we can arrange, because we have a whole content series launching right now. Again, 2022, big year for us in terms of like different content and whatnot. And part of that is showing people how to use it. I mean, you couldn't imagine how many people don't. I mean, this product, for as stupid simple as it looks, there's a user manual that's 1/8 of an inch thick. Like, I mean, there's so many different things. There's party mode, there's lava lamp mode, there's 5 different temperatures. There's like, how to clean it, how to use it, how to get the water in and out. Like, I mean, there's a lot going on with this thing. And like,
no doubt.
And so I think education is
like 3 or 4 years. That thing has lasted you forever.
Oh yeah. Well, this product doesn't need to change a whole lot. It's a vessel of water that heats stuff, and it's kind of as simple as it gets. But thank you again, man. I appreciate it.
Of course,
I'd love to come back anytime.
And I'm going to hit you up probably this week or next week and talk about doing some co-marketing events together, because I think 100%. Our products really they tie to each other. So
no, absolutely, man.
All right,
anytime,
Matt,
brother.
Thank you. You say hi to your family for us. All right.
Indeed, I will.
All right. Love you, brother. Always.
Love you too, buddy.
Thanks, man.
Take care.
Later.